The world is full of fear, full of anxiety, and full of struggle. How do you deal with that? For me, those moments came at different moments than I even anticipated. I had had a 17-year eating disorder that I finally was coming out of, and I was doing so much better. That was not the moment, that specific time. I divorced my husband and remarried him later on. That was not that moment. I used to get angry and frustrated with him about whatever reasons. That was not that moment. That moment for me was when I knew better, when I invited God back into my life, when everything had turned around. I wanted to be good enough for God. And that is what this show is about today. What happened that moment? I walked into the counselor's office, defeated, struggling, upset, angry with myself, and wondering when would I ever break that incredible problem I had brought upon myself. I walked in and she said, "Barbara, how are you doing?" And my head was hanging low. I blew it. I relapsed. And she gave me this look. And this is right now for you. And this show is for you wherever you're at in life. And this is what that counselor said. "Barbara, how long did it take the first time before you told me that you had an eating disorder?" And I told her, 17 years. And then she looked at me and she says, "Barbara, how many times did it take you this time to tell me you had an eating disorder?" And oh gosh, I had tears in my eyes saying 3 weeks. And she said, "Congratulations. What incredible progress you have made." Today with me is Claudette Jackson, and she has made a progress that seems absolutely impossible to overcome. But yet, even when she knew Christ and she went high to church and she was into homosexuality and into porn and into drugs and into all this other stuff, when you see this woman and you start seeing her, what God has turned her into, it is life transformational. Not just what it was for me, not just what it was for her, but what it's going to be for you. Amen. So Claudette, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
What was the starting point of you just falling into this incredible trap that the devil had prepared for you?
I would have to say it was when I was very young, less than 7, maybe even 6, when I got molested from someone in my family. And my family, my mom was a drug addict. My dad was a drug addict. They were both alcoholics, but they were functional. And I grew up, I was the baby of the 4 siblings, and the devil told me that I could not find love on this side of heaven. And I was convinced that there was no love on this side of heaven. So it became my ultimate goal to die at my own hands. And that was the start.
Right from the get-go.
Yes.
We call that suicide usually.
Yes.
And so you were constantly wanting basically a better life,
Yeah.
or find real love, not through sexual abuse, not through drug addicted parents.
I was convinced there was a heaven, and that's where the love would be at. So I figured if I could die, then I could get to that love that I wanted.
So at that age, that point, your focus was to die and whatever it would take to get there?
Yes.
So what way did you figure out to get there?
Well, growing up, kids don't really know exactly what they're doing. By high school, or actually junior high, is when I started taking prescription medications that were around the house. And at that age, I also started cutting. And so I remember that was like the first attempt of suicide is I took a whole bunch of my mom's prescription medications and figured, okay, I'm going to take all these and I won't wake up in the morning. But I did wake up, and I was disappointed.
Wow.
And she was also alcoholic, so I was drinking her alcohol as well, just doing whatever I thought I could.
Wow, but it gives hangovers, you feel awful the next day.
Yes.
That never made an impact on you.
No.
Wow.
No.
So you start growing up, you start stepping through all these steps.
I was in trouble in school all the time, and but but I still kept going. And of course, as the older you get, you begin to experiment with marijuana and cocaine. And I started doing those things with my friends, drinking more, especially once I got into high school, just partied all the time. And at the same time, still trying to self-sabotage and die. I remember being at a party, and I left the party, and I was walking across a busy highway and just laid in the middle of the road.
Oh,
and
not good.
My friend was coming that direction. He picked me up and took me into his house and kept me safe.
It's amazing. Did people realize how hungry you were for somebody to appreciate for who you were, or just to be loved?
I would say some did. They tried to help and give me the attention, but I was dead set caught in this lie that I believed.
And the lie was that you were better off dead than alive to go to heaven.
Yes. And it perpetuated a mental illness. I mean, at that point, I was, by the end of high school into college, first year of college, I was diagnosed with bipolar and borderline personality disorder.
Wow.
And on medications.
All of that. Now, often with bipolar, when you start feeling better, what I've been told, you want to stop those medications because they kind of flatten you out, they kind of numb you. They're not really who you are anymore.
Yes.
Did you have that problem as well?
Yeah, I would stop taking them, and but on the other side of it, I was still doing drugs and drinking. So it just made it worse, and then I just heightened it and began to continue to attempt suicide in various ways.
Wow, wow. You know, that's amazing. Your parents, you think, don't love you, even if they're stuck in their own issues in life. A family member completely hurts you. What is the answer? And all you know is that if you die, you're going to have a better life. That's what you think. So how do you deal with that? How do you overcome that? And how do you step actually out of that? What is the hope that God possibly could come up with to change her mind? Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Do you hear God speak? Hearing God's voice can change your perspective on everything. It changes the course of your life. Learn how to break the obstacles and words that hold you back. Looking to dive deeper in your relationship with God? To activate the person you were created to be? Empower a Champion can jumpstart you to hear God speak. Join us for a free 3-day challenge at empowerachampion.com. So with me is Claudette Jackson, and she has seen it and done it all. Is there hope for someone like that? And are you good enough for God? Does that even is a possibility? The amazing part in this is when you start to know this real God, nothing is impossible. And Claudette, you're an example of that. So you're working through all this. You have a girlfriend now, basically. You're doing all kinds of activity. What did it take? Did you just get in more and more and more trouble? Because none of that will bring happiness, you know?
No, I was in and out of mental institutions.
Oh, wow.
I was cutting. There was no happiness. I was doing drugs, partying. So there was nothing coming out of it for me. It was just kind of like a cycle that I kept going into. And this one particular time, I kept hearing the Lord call my name. And
in drugs, being
high?
I was
high. I kept.
How did you know it was him?
It was just a knowing. I just knew that
Yeah,
I
you
knew.
do. You know that you know that you
he
know.
kept calling me.
Wow.
And so I told her, I said, look, we're going to have to break up for a while because I need to go find out what the Lord wants.
That's funny.
And she thought I was crazy.
Yeah, I could see why.
But I knew that I needed to do this. And so we broke up, and I was just like, okay, Lord, what is it? What do you want? And I didn't understand when he was talking to me what he was trying to tell me.
Now, did you accept Jesus already in your heart at that time?
I did not.
But you still knew it was him.
I knew it was him talking to me. I just didn't know what he was saying or what he wanted. So it kind of got a little crazy for me during that time.
I just want to give the Lord a thumbs up right now. I'm like, wow.
There was a lot of weird things happening. I could begin to see things different and hear things different. And I didn't quite understand it, but I knew something was going on spiritually. And of course, like I said, my friends now thought I was going crazy, and they were trying to keep the drugs away from me. But I was just like, no, I want the drugs, because that was The methamphetamines.
Oh, no. You thought drugs brought you closer to God?
At that time, yes. Because I
I
could
have
hear his
never
voice.
heard that one before.
And the methamphetamines would keep me up all night so I could just hang out and talk with him. But the marijuana would open up like into the spiritual realm where I could begin to see things, hear things, and it was just a weird time for me that I felt like I was going crazy as well.
It's amazing when I hear you talk how God was protecting you in the middle of that, because that's usually when a lot of trouble can pop up if you don't know what you're dealing with. So that is amazing to me. So you're the first person that found God while being high that I know of.
Oh,
so
yeah,
that's
I was completely high to death. I actually gave him my life.
What did he say to you?
Well, it was on a Sunday. I remember it was August 3rd, 2008 is when I finally met him. I had went to a drug house to buy drugs with some friends, and it was methamphetamines and marijuana. That was my hang up at that time. And my friends had left me there to go do something, and I had told them, I need to go walk somewhere. I need to go home or something. I just knew I needed to get out of that house. So I got high with them, and I left their house, and I just started walking down the street. And this was in Arizona. And I remember hearing his voice talking to me, and I was just like,
Wow.
Are you talking to me? Can I hear you? Can you hear me?
Yes, you
And
can.
so I started asking him to prove that I could actually hear him and he could hear me.
Oh no, you're on meth, you can hear him, he's connecting with you, he is loving on you, saying, I'm going to help you through all this in the right ways. And then you're saying, you better prove yourself to me.
Yes.
Why was that?
I just wasn't sure that was really true, that I could actually hear him, because I could hear him, but I wasn't sure it was really him.
Now, did
The
you hear
God
him
of
in
the
your own
universe.
voice? Because a lot of people can hear the Holy Spirit talking to their spirit in their own voice usually. Was that you?
No, I could hear his voice. It
Wow.
was different from my voice.
Okay. So you hear him talking to you. What did he say?
I'm not quite sure what he kept saying.
What?
All I kept
You were
saying,
too high for it. Oh no!
he was talking, but I was at the point of, I need to know, is this really you? So I kept asking him, make that car stop in the middle of the road, make that car honk its horn, make that car put on
That's
its
not
brake
even
lights.
safe what you asked him to do.
He did it.
Wow.
He did it.
So you're high, you don't remember what he said, but you remember what you said.
Yes.
And
He kept doing it.
God did it.
I kept walking back and forth across the busy highway, trying to figure out, is this really him? And he kept proving, yes, it was. And so by the time he proved it, it broke me. It broke me. And I knew that I was convinced that I could hear him and he could hear me. And I went on my knees in the middle of the road and started crying. And
Can't you do it on the sidewalk?
not when you meet God.
Oh, wow. That's good.
You'll
That's
stop
good.
anywhere.
Yeah.
So I was there in the middle of the road, cars going by, didn't care. I was crying on my knees. And my past and my future flashed before me in a matter of seconds.
What was that like?
It was unbelievable. I was overwhelmed in love. I could just feel it.
Oh, wow.
And he asked me, do you want to come home? Or do you want to stay here and work for me?
This was your chance to finally leave.
And I said, yes, I want to stay here and work for you.
What was the chance? Was it his overpowering love?
Well,
What was the
He
chance?
made me a deal. He made me a deal.
And deals is what drugs is all about usually, probably anyways.
That's my language,
He
right?
knew you. So he said, do you want to stay or go?
And he said, if you give up everything you've been running after, I will give you what you've been searching for all your life.
Wow.
And I said, okay.
Wow. And he did.
He did.
He did. And what is it that you were searching for?
Love.
Real love. Just real love, to step into that. Wow. So now you meet God. You're in the middle of a road on your knees. You put him through the ringer, basically. And out of his love and incredible plan he has for your life, he said, this is the way it's going to be. But now recovery starts. That's a whole new level. And that might be you. I'm not sure what you're struggling with or what you're dealing with. But when there is recovery and you don't know how to step into that recovery, what is it that you need to do? Well, in this next segment, it gets even more bizarre. But I can tell you one thing. When God is in it, He will meet you where you are at. And when that starts happening, everything changes. We would love to hear from you or connect with you. So wait for this next segment or call us already for prayer. 855-515-5550. Stay tuned. Barb TV is all about you getting the needs met that you have. Satan wants to steal, kill, and destroy your life, but Jesus wants to give you the abundant life. How do we do that? We have guests with stories, and God wants to do the stories again in your life. He wants to change your life, He wants to improve your life, and He wants you to have all the benefits. So Claudette, you're in the middle of the road. You hear God while you're high. When you got sober, what went through your head next?
It took a while to get sober. It wasn't right away.
That means you were really loaded.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow. Wow. Now, while you saw that, I've heard before that people see actually demons when they're not sober because they don't overthink everything with their brain, but they allow their heart somehow. Because I guess they numb the pain and they start seeing things. Were you seeing things?
I did see demons, yes, but I also saw the good side. So I saw both.
How's that possible? Well, that's pretty awesome, actually. So what did that look like? Describe it to me.
Well, the demon, when I've seen the first demon, it freaked me out.
It's the eyes with the look in those dark eyes?
No, it was a very beautiful demon.
Really?
Very beautiful, very attractive. I mean, I was homosexual, so it was definitely something that would attract me to it. But what freaked me out was it had like 3 arms on each side, and it was trying to pull me in, and I think that's what freaked me out. And
wow.
I remember wanting to die after I saw that because I never wanted to see another demon again because it scared me.
Wow, wow. And that was before you got to the road when you heard God talk to you and finally acknowledged it? So here you're even wanting to die more, all that's going on. What does the good side look like?
Peace.
Yeah, you have seen it before, that peace. It's an incredible peace. You don't want to leave it.
No.
It is so good. I remember going on a trip to heaven once, and I was so excited there, and I'm just loving it. And then I hear the Lord say, it's time to go back, and I'm putting my feet in the clouds. I'm like, the whole thing looked ridiculous, trying to hold this back. I was like, no, I'm not. No, I'm going to go back.
I understand.
So that's amazing, that peace. Yes. So you becoming aware of what happens. Did transformation take place, or did you go back to all your old habits and ignore all of it? Or were you enough hungry for God to want more?
Well, after that day I got up out of the street, I went to jail that very day.
What? What did you do? No, this is not even funny. So, how did you end up in jail?
Well, see, what happened was when I had met him, he said, get up. So I got up out of the street and I began to walk. And by this time I was crying because I just met the Lord.
But that is good crying.
I was
that
crying,
is cleansing.
Happy. And I wanted to get him a gift. I was convinced I needed to get him a gift.
Oh, no.
And so I'm walking down the street looking for something to give to him. And
it's actually beautiful.
And I actually found this nail in the gutter. It was like the kind that they do on railroads. I mean, it was a long nail. And so I picked this nail up and I put my hand against the wall. There was a brick wall there. And I told him, I said, Lord, I'm willing to put this through my hand to prove that I love you.
Wow. All you knew was pain and hurting.
That's all I knew. And he said to
And
me,
that's how you were going to love him back.
put it down. You will never hurt like that again. I have not cut since that day.
Wow. And then the police showed up saying, are you nuts? And they put you in prison.
Well, somebody has to call the cops because I was going back and forth across the street. So I just remember the walking, keep walking. Now I'm smiling and kind of got a little skip to me because he, told me to put that down. I just met him. Now we can hear each other. And then this police car pulls up and I just turn and look at the lady and say, hi. And I was out. I passed out.
No way. No. Your story is, I don't want to call it crazy, but it is amazing.
Yeah.
Absolutely amazing, because God was there. Often people wonder if they're worthy enough for God. And God says, let me embrace you, love you, and show you the better side. You got to meet him. You got to hear his voice. And then you're going the same day to prison. So you went out because of who knows what.
Yeah, I have no clue. I went out and I remember waking up often and I was in the back of a police car, hogtied. And then from the police car, I was out. And then I woke up again, I was on a hospital gurney. And then from the hospital gurney, I remember waking up in the hospital. And so then from the hospital, I remember waking up in jail.
You don't remember the betweens?
I could see them here and there, but no.
What was the period of time between all that?
It was like 10 hours.
Okay, so was that the drugs that was in you that caused a lot of that?
I have no clue. That day, after that moment, it's kind of a fog. I've been asking him ever since what happened that day, but he doesn't show me all the details of what was going on during the time.
He will let you know. It sounds like there was a battle going on between good and evil.
Yes.
And it sounds like almost you got slain in the spirit in a funny way.
Yes.
So it's just, I'm just putting it the way I'm hearing it, you know?
Yes.
I'm like, so the power of God is working and the evil is saying, no, she's mine.
Yes.
So I have rights. You end up in jail. Mm-hmm. Why jail? Being knocked out on the street and going to jail should not go together.
Well, I remember when I woke up once in the hospital and I was handcuffed to the bed. And there was a police officer at the end of the bed, and I sat up and I looked at him and I said, hello. And he just was looking at me all mean. I was like, what's going on? And he said, you're going to jail. And I said, why? And he said, because you hit me. You hit me in the nose. I said, oh, I'm sorry. Do you forgive me? And he said, no. I said, okay. And then I was in jail. And according to the paperwork, I was in jail for assaulting police officers and resisting arrest. So I had 4 charges on my record.
Ooh. Now, I'm wondering, Lord, you reveal yourself to you, Claudette, and then you're in jail next with 4 charges against you. Is that the moment you said, that's it, I'm done with this, you're not what I thought you were?
No, I was beyond happy.
Why?
I knew the Lord, and we could talk. And so when I was in jail, I remember people were like, oh, you're going to be in here for a long time for what you did. I was like, no, he told me I was getting out. I was getting out. And so I got to witness in jail. I got to tell people about Jesus. I got to tell them about what happened to me. And it was just an incredible time. And the women there, they called me Smiley and Night Rider, because at night I would creep around the jail and go talk to my friends all over.
And you got away with all of that.
Oh yeah, and that was the fun part. The guard was right there, and I would just walk right.
And they never
saw me, and I remember my mom, when she found out, she was like, "Oh my God, my baby, I'm gonna bail you out." No, Mom, no, I'm excited. This is fun.
Now, how long did you end up actually in prison?
I was in, actually it was jail. I didn't make it to prison. I was in jail for 25 days.
25 days. And it was like the party of the party, yes, because you had found real love. Yes. How old were you at that time?
Let's see. I was 38.
Wow. After 38 years,
yes,
you found true love.
Yes.
And I want to share with you, because there is more to this than you realize, but we're going to do a second show with this. Because when you start seeing how God helps her next to go where she's at today, that is the golden nugget that I want you to grab a hold of. And it says it right here. I want to share with you Mark 14. And this is what I want to share with you right now. I'm not going to read the whole thing till later. But this is what it says. Now Jesus was in Bethany in the home of Simon. A man had healed of leprosy. And as he was reclining at the table, a woman came into the house with an alabaster flask filled with the highest quality of fragrant and expensive oil. She came to Jesus, and with a gesture of extreme devotion, she broke the flask and poured out the precious oil over his head. But somewhere, and then it goes on, I'm going to skip a little bit, and then it picks it up in verse 6. Jesus said to them, "Leave her alone," when they were criticizing her. "Why are you so critical of this woman? She has honored me with this beautiful act of kindness. You will always have the poor whom you can help whenever you want, but you will not always have me. When she poured the fragrant oil over me, she was preparing my body in advance for my burial. She has done all that she could to honor me. I promise you that all this wonderful gospel spreads all over the world. The story of her lavish devotion to me will be mentioned in memory of her." When I asked the Lord to give me a scripture for you, He sees you as a Mary of Magdalene. I'm not sure if you realize how huge that is, and that your story is going to be shared all over the world. All right. Wow, God's amazing. You want to see the second segment. I look forward to see you soon. Have a great day. Who was put on the steps to die, basically, or to be found by somebody. And when somebody found her right after birth, rats were eating on her body. Wow, how do you overcome something so traumatic? And yet, when God gets involved, everything changes.
Per call, their law for babies that were half-blooded to either be put to death or left to die. Their dreams kind of shattered because I didn't accept them. I didn't.
You came with baggage.